Australia has only 27 million people, but it generates over $1.7 trillion in economic output every year. That makes it larger than economies like Saudi Arabia, Switzerland, and Argentina, even though it has way less people. Today I'm walking around Sydney with a budget of $100 to see how far it will take me here. GDP per capita here is around $65,000, putting it among the top tier globally. But what makes Australia so interesting is not just how wealthy it is, but it's how it got here. See, unlike the US, it did not build its economy on tech giants or finance. Instead, a huge part of its wealth comes from natural resources: iron ore, coal, natural gas, and gold. But over the last few decades, one country has been at the center of this story: China. China buys about a third of Australia's exports, which has helped fuel decades of growth. But it also raises bigger questions. I mean, how much control do they really have? Because when China does well, Australia does well, but also the opposite is true. So today I'm spending $100 in Sydney to understand how this economy became so successful, but also whether that success is as stable as it seems. Coffee culture is huge here, so I start with a morning coffee for $3 and chia pudding for $4. And I go to this famous park called Hyde Park. This is my budget for the day. 141 Australian dollars is equal to 100 US dollars. They're super hard to counterfeit. This is crazy, but they're even see-through. This is the 5, this is worth about 3 US dollars. This is the 10, this is worth about $6.50. And 20 Australian dollars is equal to about 13 US dollars. Now, some countries peg their banknote to the US dollar because the US dollar is seen as the ultimate sign of like a global currency, but not Australia. It floats freely, meaning its values change every day based on the global economy. By the way, for the sake of today's video, everything you see will be in US dollars. So it might get a little confusing, but I'm gonna convert everything into US dollar because, let's face it, most of the world knows the value of the US dollar, not the Australian dollar. Now, the Australian dollar is sometimes referred to as a commodity currency. This is because Australia exports massive amounts of iron ore, coal, natural gas, gold, and agriculture. So when global demand, especially from China, is on the rise, this currency usually strengthens, it becomes stronger. But when global demand weakens, well, this weekends too. And that's a theme I'm gonna explore today as we see what 100 US dollars gets me here in Sydney. You know how when you land in a new city and you instantly sort of have just a feeling of how safe it is, like walking down the street with your phone out, or just being aware of your overall surroundings? Well, so far in Sydney, I feel super safe. Again, it's just a feeling, but compared to a city like London or something, right now, I feel super safe. Obviously, it depends. Every city has good neighborhoods and bad neighborhoods and all of that, but this is just kind of the initial feeling I'm getting so far from Sydney as a whole. Walking through Sydney, the first thing you notice is how functional everything feels. The infrastructure works, the streets are clean, and there's a sense of stability that seems to reflect a high standard of living. But that quality comes at a price. See, Sydney is consistently ranked among the top 10 most expensive cities in the world. As part of my day, I take a $15 Uber ride to the famous Bondi Beach. The median home price in Sydney has crossed 1 million US dollars, making it one of the least affordable housing markets globally. Household debt still sits around 180% of disposable income. That's one of the highest levels in the developed world. But at the same time, incomes are strong. Australia's minimum wage is over 15 US dollars per hour, and the median full-time salary here is around 60,000 US dollars. So people do earn more, but they are also under more pressure to sustain that lifestyle. And that's where the broader structure of this economy really starts to matter here. See, Australia exports about $400 billion worth of goods every year, and a large share of that comes from raw materials like iron ore, coal, natural gas. And these exports aren't just some sort of side story, they're a major source of national income. But a huge portion of that income comes from China. So while Sydney feels like a self-contained, highly developed city, the reality is that a meaningful part of the wealth supporting this lifestyle is actually being generated overseas. And it is a system that works extremely well, but it depends on something very specific continuing to happen: demand from abroad. Okay, by now it's time for lunch, so I come to this place next to Bondi Beach. Everyone recommends I try fish and chips here in Australia, so I find this place that's famous for it. I get a sparkling water, the price is $5. One oyster is about $5. I order the fish and chips, the price $20. $23. I saw this stat the other day that over 60% of travelers actually feel anxiety when they can't find a reliable Wi-Fi signal abroad. Wandering around a city trying to find a cafe with a working password, or praying the hotel connection doesn't drop during an important meeting. It's all annoying. That's when this thing called Baseus changed my travel experience. And they're today's sponsor. This is Baseus EnerGeek GX11, and it's basically the world's first device that combines a high-speed 4G hotspot with a massive 20,000 milliamp hour power bank. So instead of just searching for local SIM cards or paying those ridiculous roaming fees, this thing just connects to premium local networks in over 150 countries automatically. It's just about the size of a soda can and easily fits into my backpack. You can also connect up to 10 devices at once, so my laptop and phone are always good to go, or even the friends that you're hanging out with. Plus, it has 67-watt fast charging and a built-in cable which can charge up to 3 devices. So I'm never even like hunting for a plug at a coffee shop or an airport. Check this out in the link below to get 10% off your purchase and $9 off your data plan using code Uptin. Oh, and also the device includes 20 gigs of local data upon your initial sign up. Thanks again to Baseus, and now back to the video. Normally, I'm not a big fish and chips kind of person, but I will admit it's actually delicious. And then this strikes me quite a bit on my check. I have to pay $3 for a Sunday surcharge. Apparently in Australia, businesses have to pay higher weekend wages. They're mandated by law. In most places that I work or live, weekends are prime time for restaurants, and I've never seen a government kind of like almost penalizing the customers for eating out on weekends. So this is the Australia the world sees. Beaches, sunshine, lifestyle. And it's all real, it's all nice, it's all a vibe. But behind all this is one of the highest household debt levels in the world. Interest rates rose sharply over the last couple years. Mortgage payments jumped. While the lifestyle here is relaxed, many people I speak to here complain about the cost of housing. While the economy is wealthy, it's tied deeply to global trade, and some economists would say that in of itself is a problem. I walk around some more and get a gelato at this place, which seems like a total vibe. The price is $4. Okay, to understand how Australia got here, you have to look at what happened in China over the past 20 years. China went through the largest construction boom in modern history. Between 2000 and 2020, it used more cement than the US did in the entire 20th century. Entire cities were built from scratch, along with highways, ports, and rail networks. Now, all of that required steel, and steel requires iron ore. Australia became the dominant supplier. Today, it accounts for roughly 60% of global seaborne iron ore exports, and China, by far the largest customer. In fact, iron ore generates over $100 billion annually for Australia. Okay, now it's time for me to leave Bondi Beach, so I take a train, which is $3, and I go back to the CBD area and walk around. I walk next to the water where you can see the famous Sydney Opera House. Then I decide I want to get on the water, so I take a ferry for $3 just because I want to take a ferry ride, but I have no idea where it's going. But hey, that's part of the adventure. So iron ore has played a major role in supporting government budgets, strengthening Australia's currency, and maintaining high living standards. But the relationship also brings risk because Australia does not control the demand for iron ore. China does, and that demand is changing. China's economic growth has slowed from double digits to around 5%. Its property sector under pressure, and new construction has declined significantly from its peak. At the same time, there are geopolitical tensions that have exposed how fragile trade relationships can be. Now, in recent years, China imposed restrictions on Australian exports like coal, wine, and barley, which has disrupted billions of dollars in trade. And this highlights a structural reality. See, Australia's economy is highly successful, but it's highly concentrated. I get off the ferry at this place called Manly Beach. So Manly Beach has this relaxed coastal vibe that feels worlds away from the city, even though it's just a short ferry ride away. Apparently, this place is known for its consistent surf, wide golden sand, and a laid-back mix of locals, surfers, and weekend crowds. A lot of people say that takeaway sushi places in Australia are super good, so I give this place a try. You basically just mix and match your own sushi to your own plate. So I try a few different types, and the price is $20. After dinner, I take the ferry back to the CBD. Again, the ride, $3. My total for the day is $91, so I'm well within my budget of $100 US. The challenge for Australia is clear. Can Australia diversify its economy beyond resources while maintaining the wealth that those resources created. Because if the external demand that powered its rise continues to slow, well, the effects will not stay in the background. They'll show up in housing, in wages, and in the overall cost of living. And this is what makes Australia such a compelling country. It's a country that has built massive wealth, but whose future is still closely tied to forces beyond its borders. Let me know what you think, and while you're at it, make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you don't miss the next one.